Siomra Beag.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sure Look, Sure Listen, the podcast that takes a pop, a culture. Sure look, sure listen.
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 Sure look, sure listen. Sure look at Ben. This week there's not much news going on, so we are going to be taking a look at the new Masters of the Universe trailer, Ben, for Masters of the Universe Revelations Part 1, which I tried to say incorrectly, but I accidentally said correctly. And then, Ben, we're going to take a look at Loki Episode 4, which is brimming over the cup, Ben. The cup brimmeth over with mythological and comic book references.
So much going on, Michael. And sure, listen, if that wasn't enough...
Which it isn't.
Which it isn't. Today is July the 4th, Michael, so we've decided as the main topic for the day to take a look at the history of Russia as portrayed in American comic books. Why bloody not?
The irony, Ben, is an absolute delicious lamente.
It's quite nice, isn't it, Michael? Let's get into it.
Very good, Benjamin. Look, Benjamin, we haven't covered in our little initial intro blurb there, but the Tomorrow War came out with one young Christopher Prattenstein, and I don't know if anyone's seen or enjoyed it.
I don't think anybody has, Michael. I think it's the first film to not get a single watch.
Nobody in the universe has watched it, Ben. I forgot it was out. You forgot it was out.
And you know what I won't be doing, Michael?
What?
I won't be travelling to the future to see it then either.
Benjamin.
Yes.
This evening, in honour of the 4th of July, I might make some popcorn and some hot dogs and have some milk duds and maybe a Pepsi Max and watch the Tomorrow War, which I imagine is a celebration of American defeating aliens.
Yeah!
Yeah, we've done it for freedom and capitalism.
They already made that film, Michael. It was called Independence Day, and I think it was probably infinitely better than Tomorrow War, which is saying something.
Independence Day is an all-time classic, Benjamin. I will have you take... Yes, absolutely. Independence Day is an all-time classic. It taught us everything about computer viruses, about Jeff Goldblum, about using crop dusters to fight aliens. It was, Independence Day is an excellent film.
Okay, I'll take that back then. I'll let you have that.
I'll
let you have that.
Benjamin.
Yeah.
Speaking of large, heavily muscled men.
Oh yeah, the big muscular boys.
The big muscular men, Benjamin. Benjamin, the original toy line by Kenner in the 80s was called Masters of the Universe.
Well, there you go.
And He-Man was undoubtedly the main character, as he was based on the ever-popular, at that time, Conan the Barbarian.
Yes, Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah, and then obviously the cartoon became much more He-Man.
Yes,
and also the Masters of the Universe.
He-Man.
That's not exactly spot on, Ben.
Oh, no, it is.
But
yeah,
Benjamin,
go on.
There's a trailer for the new one. And it looks like, at least in one episode, He-Man's going to be the baddie.
Yep, a classic. Oh no, he's turned evil. How do I fight my deepest friend?
And Ben, it looks like he might represent toxic masculinity.
I think there's going to be an awful lot of toxic masculinity here. It looks like, Michael, and you'll forgive me here now for making a little prediction. It looks
Benjamin.
like Teela's going to step up and take the title role here, Michael.
Looks like Teela's the main character to me, to my eye.
Looks like Teela's the main character. That was heavily hinted at, Michael, in Kevin Smith's breakdown of the trailer, because this is done by Kevin Smith, and he gave a little Netflix drop-in to give us a breakdown of that first trailer and talk about the direction he's taking He-Man in. And Michael, the internet didn't like it.
Classic internet.
I read the comments under that video, and it was just like, if Teela gets main billing, I'm out. And I was just like, wow, to be threatened by the possibility of a female character being the lead in your beloved muscular action figure toy line cartoon was hilarious to me.
Benjamin.
Benjamin.
Teela looks quite traditionally masculine.
She does. She's a herbo.
Big muscles.
Yeah, she's got. Well, she's not a herbo because I doubt she's very bimboish, but she's a big, strong lady.
Yeah, she's got the muscles, Ben. She's got the angular face. She's got a much less feminine face than Prince Adam.
Prince Adam's got an awful soft face.
Yeah, he's got a very soft face, like a young Benjamin Colopy.
Michael, one of the interesting things that we're seeing here is they're going to split the Sword of Power.
Oh.
We see in the latest trailer, which dropped yesterday, Michael, so we're actually on the cusp of pop culture news for a change.
Wow.
It dropped 2 days ago from when you were listening. But anyway, they're splitting the sword in two, and Teela's going to get one half, and bloody Adam's going to get the other.
Is that what's going to happen?
Well, that's what we saw, Michael. We saw her fighting with one half of the bloody... What's it called? Does it have a special name?
Sword of Power.
It's just called the Sword of Power. Excellent. Well, it's one half of the Sword of Power. and she's fighting with that. Kevin Smith has hinted, Michael, that there's going to be a cataclysm at the end of part 1.
I believe that's pronounced cataclysm.
Cataclysm, sorry.
Yes.
There's going to be a rather large cataclysm. A rather large cataclysm.
Very good,
and that's going to happen. And my prediction is, Michael, we're going to get rid of He-Man.
Oh.
Is he going to die? Is he going to make the big sacrifice?
Benjamin.
At the end of part 1?
Benjamin.
Yes.
I have one issue and one issue alone with
Go
the
on.
concept of Tila being the main character of this show.
Okay.
And here's my issue, Ben. Here's the issue, and this is the issue on its own.
Yes.
It's that She-Ra already exists.
Yes, she does.
And, she's already there. She's already doing that. There's already a cartoon series. It's quite good.
It's a whole thing on Netflix.
The whole thing is already on Netflix. It already exists. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a continuation of the original series again, Michael. Oh, it has been confirmed, to be an absolute continuation of the original series.
Good, because when the original series wrapped up, Ben, I did wonder where it was going to go.
I didn't.
No, neither did
I. So, I mean, it's such a tonal shift, Michael, isn't it? It's the DC Universe reboot of He-Man, where everything's a bit grim and gritty.
Very good. There's no more magic, and only we can bring back magic. I don't want to bring back magic. I'm better off without magic. But we have to bring back magic.
Tila was the best of us.
It does look a bit grim and serious.
Oh, and I find it really funny because Kevin Smith quite often makes things that make fun of those grim and gritty reboots. Like his entire Jay and Silent Bob 2 movie was making fun of the concept of reboots and grim and gritty reboots and this kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to do one myself in bloody Netflix form.
You say that, Ben, but they say, there's an old saying, Ben, don't judge a book by its cover.
But you can judge it by its teaser, trailer, and trailer.
Yeah, well, Ben, I think the 21st century equivalent is don't judge a film by its teaser trailer.
Fair.
Because then, Ben, Suicide Squad would have been quite good.
If only.
Imagine if that had been good.
Imagine a world where that wasn't an extended MTV music video.
But look, there's no need to go back and talk about that again. But it might be much more comical and light when it gets to the actual show.
Are we going to get the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad soon, do you think?
I do not think so. I think we're more likely to get the Snyder cut of Sucker Punch, to be honest. Benjamin!
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about, though. We're talking about the fact that, for me, this trailer gave me very Castlevania vibes.
Very Castlevania, Michael. They're obviously making a lot of headway in the old Netflix anime department. And I think they are. I think the Netflix series or the Castlevania series was an unexpected sleeper hit. So much so, Michael, that I, staunch anti-anime activist, watched the entire thing and enjoyed it thoroughly. I have seen all 4 seasons.
Benjamin.
Yeah.
I propose a new term to describe this kind of Western anime phenomenon.
Go on.
I think we shall call it wamame.
Wamame. I'm down for that.
Okay, that's what we'll call it from now on. There already may be a whole community existing, Ben, but we've come up with that and we'll fight anyone who denies it.
Yep, that's us. In 10 years' time, when it's a standard thing, and it says, I'm with the Wanabu, we call it that, we get away with that somewhere, we'll be able to say that was us. That was Sure Look, Sure Listen.
We invented it. We'll fight anyone who disagrees with us, as long as they don't have a sword.
Well,
a big, huge sword.
Mick
a big, huge sword twice as long as their body.
Mick will
if
fight
they have
you.
that on Ben, if they have that, if they have a big, huge sword twice as long as their body, I'm not fighting them.
Well, no, but they're not fighting you either, because they can't pick that up, because it's not an actual anime, Michael.
Benjamin, if they have a mysterious backstory, I'm not fighting them either. Because then they probably have
they've got secret
potential.
powers that
I'm
you
not
didn't
doing that.
know about, Michael.
Nah. I'm only fighting them if they're a little cat person.
And then you bloody Ki.
Yeah, or if they're a wizard with a wizard hat.
A big old wizard. Oh, you can take a wizard.
Yeah.
You can take a wizard.
Benjamin.
Yeah.
Speaking of wizards.
Oh, go on. What a segue.
Was it, though?
No, it's terrible.
One of the worst segues of all time. Benjamin. We have another very, very popular segment on this show. You call it the fuckery.
I do.
Benjamin.
Yeah.
The television program Loki.
Yes, Loki.
Loki, Ben. Holy moly, Ben. Has this been on a roller coaster ride of public reaction?
Michael, it feels like this show has been on for much longer than just 4 episodes.
It's only been 4 episodes, Ben.
This show feels like it's been running for seasons.
Yeah.
The tonal shifts, Michael,
All over the place,
of
Ben.
this show. Christ.
So much happening.
Oh, do you know what, Michael? This is interesting. This was simultaneously one of the most disappointing and one of the most enjoyable episodes I've seen so far. I was so conflicted throughout.
Enjoy appointing, I believe they call it.
Enjoy appointing. I think some of the moments in that show are so unearned in this episode, Michael. There are certain moments here that just don't merit the reaction
All
they
right.
get from characters.
All right. You calm your jets down there a second.
Yeah, I'm cooling myself off.
Because you're about to launch into spoilers. And you
I
have to
haven't.
insert
I
the
haven't.
spoil-
I was very carefully choosing diplomatic language that did not give anything away.
Benjamin,
Yes.
why don't you give us a little spoiler warning for Loki season episode 4? Let's call it Loki season 4 because that's what it feels like.
Loki season 4. Ladies and gentlemen, it's spoilers. Spoilers. Listen away now if you don't want Loki spoilers.
Yeah, but don't stop listening because that's bad for our metrics. Just fast forward.
Just skip ahead.
There are time codes in the description as always.
If you're on YouTube,
Benjamin.
I don't think if you're... Does it work on
No,
Spotify?
they're always there. Yeah. They're always,
class!
Yeah.
Just
It's not
click
my
the
first
time
day.
codes in the
Just
description.
click the time codes. Benjamin,
What?
twist and turns, Ben. Twist and turns akimbo. In a
Michael.
like a contortionist's legs, Ben.
Much going on. I mean, we got a couple of big cameos this episode, Michael. But mostly Lady Sif. She's bloody back. It's Return of the Sif.
There she is, Ben. I'm putting her up on screen for you.
Return of the Sif. And yeah, she's back. She's a bizarre cameo where she's a memory construct.
One of the strangest cameos of all time, Ben.
Yeah, just weird.
Because let's be honest.
Weird.
Let's be honest, Ben. Jamie Alexander, the actress who plays the good lady Sif,
Yes.
she's not she's not Helena Bonham Carter. She's not.
No.
That was the first one I could
That
think.
was
That was the first
interesting. You're a little out of touch.
actress. A little, slightly out of touch. I feel
You're a little out of touch.
Slightly out of touch. She's no Charlize Theron.
There we go. That's a bit better.
She's no Sigourney Weaver, Ben. She's who are actresses in demand, Ben?
It's a great question. We've got Gal Gadot.
She's no Gal Gadot. There you go. Although
There you go.
that might be a bit close to the bone for Jamie Alexander. But even though she isn't the biggest superstar in the world, if that scene is the only thing they brought her back for, it's a bit of a power move, isn't it?
Bit of a kick in the balls, Michael, one
Bit of a
might
kick
say.
in the balls, Ben. if you would.
Look, it's definitely not. I think you're probably going to see Sif in Love and Thunder. I think this might be the inkling to the return of Lady Sif. I think we'll probably see her in Love and Thunder 2 years from now. 2022, is that when that's coming out?
Bloody who knows, Ben?
I don't know anymore.
Will Black Widow have come out by then?
I hope not. I don't want to go see that film. But anyway, we'll get into that later. Michael, it's such a strange cameo where Loki simultaneously seems to be trapped in his own memory, but can influence it.
Yes.
And does so several times.
But never
Yes.
successfully.
Never successfully. He gets caught out every time because the loop just resets even if he does win. He has one moment of winning, and then Mobius pops in and he's like, "Did you mean what you said?" And we have the whole conversation there. So,
Benjamin.
Yeah.
Tell us about the story of Loki cutting Sif's hair.
Yeah, so there's a big mythic reference to that. She says, "You've done this, you weasel," and it's a reference to this. There's a very famous tale in the Norse saga, the Edda, where Loki slips on in while the good lady Sif is sleeping with her good man Thor, because they're the traditional pairing in Norse mythology, and he cuts off Sif's beautiful golden hair.
Oh, she doesn't have beautiful golden hair, though.
She doesn't, Michael. But he cuts off Sif's beautiful golden hair, and this is the story that leads to Mjolnir being created. Because in response to that, Thor figures out that it's Loki pretty instantaneously. He goes, "Oh well, there's only one prick that'd try that." I tell you,
Loki.
Loki, and he goes and he finds himself Loki, and he says, "Here, come here to me, brother. Come here, twat." And he gives him a good rough shaking.
Uncle,
And
usually.
He says, "You'll fix this, right?"
Mm.
And Loki goes, Yep, I like all my teeth where they are. I'll fix it. So he pops off to 2 different families of dwarves, Michael. The sons of Etri, and I forget the other pair. I'm sorry, I forget the other pair, Michael. But one is the sons of Etri, and the other is...
The other lads.
The other lads. Anyway, what he does is he says, "Come here to me. I was in the workshop of the Etri lads there the other day, and they were making the most beautiful things I've ever seen."
Oh, very clever.
And these other dwarves go, get fucked. We can make better shit than the Etri lads. And he goes, "Well, you know, proof is in the pudding, lads. You can either show it off to us there, or, you know, I'm just going to have to not believe you." So the dwarves go, "Right, I tell you what, I will make you 3 gifts fit for the gods that are unbelievably cool." And Loki goes, "All right, do." And then he goes off to the sons of Etri and he says, "Here, come here to the other lads over there. They're making gifts for the gods. They're trying to show you up." And they're like, "Oh, get fucked." So they go about and they fix this. So anyway, the other lads start making their gifts, and then the sons of Etri start to make a couple of gifts. And the greatest gift they're going to make is a hammer, Michael.
Oh, and a belt.
And they make a belt of power as well, Michael. So they make a hammer, and that hammer will soon be known as Mjolnir. But one of the things that people always ask is, why is the handle so short on that war hammer?
It's more like a mallet.
It's more like a war mallet. And there's a reason for that, Michael. It's because Loki's a bollocks. So when the brothers are when the brothers are making the hammer, one brother says to the other, he says, "Look, whatever you do, when you're using that bellows on the fire to keep it roasting hot, don't fuck it, right? You have to stay focused. You have to stay on it. If you don't, this isn't going to turn out right." And so the brother goes, "No, I won't fuck it. It's grand. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's cool."
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No.
Now, what we don't know, Michael, and what I forgot to tell you, and that's the reason we don't know, because I'm a terrible storyteller and I forgot a key part, is the sons of Etri are no dopes. And they were like, "This sounds like a bit of God of Mischiefness. This sounds like you're stacking us against our brothers over there, and you're trying to get something for nothing, Loki, and I don't like it." And Loki says, No. I swear on my head, I swear on my head that I'm not trying to trick you. And the brothers go, "All right, grand. If you are tricking us, and if this is a trick, I'm going to take your head. I'm going to cut your head clean off your shoulders." So obviously this is not really in Loki's favour, because he's bound himself as a god to this promise and pact. So he says, "Right, I tell you what, I'm going to make a shit gift so they don't win the competition, and that means that they can't cut my head off." So he turns himself into a horsefly, Michael.
Oh, he's always at it.
He's always at it, a little transformative whirligig, and he transforms himself into a horsefly. And while the brother is furiously working the bellows, trying to make the flame burn as hot as possible, he flies down there, gives him a bite-a-rooney, right on the eyelid.
Ah, Ben.
Yeah.
Is there anything worse than being interrupted while you're furiously working the bellows?
No, not really. It's very shocking. So anyway, Michael, needless to say, the hammer gets botched. It ends up with a shorter handle. That's why Mjolnir has a short handle. So anyway, they go back to the gods. The first thing that is made, the most important thing that is made in terms of this tale, is that they make magical hair for Sif to replace the hair that's been cut off. So they make magical hair for Sif and they give it back to her. The other things that were made were the famous spear that Odin uses that never misses the mark. Gungnir. Oh, very good, Michael. Very good. Oh, it is not. There's a magical boar that's given to the lady Frigga.
Yeah, I forget his name. God damn it.
I can't remember the boar's name. There's a magical boar. There's some golden ring bands, Michael, that double themselves every night. So they
sounds valuable.
They add an infinite store to Odin's wealth. There's
Ben.
Yes.
Ben.
Yes.
I think whoever came up with that idea didn't understand the idea of exponentials, because that would get out of control very quickly.
I know, you'd have way too many rings.
Benjamin, it would take over the entire universe in a couple of months.
Yeah, too many rings spoil the coffers, Michael. You know yourself.
Yeah, and the universe.
So that's the first 3, Michael, and the last 3 gifts that were given were the ship that Balder took, which is a tiny folding ship, and if you unfold it, it turns into a giant ship.
Oh, Baldur's folding ship.
Baldur's folding ship. The classic Baldur's folding ship. You used to be able to send away for it in the back of a comic book when they sold you all those Acme products. Then the second to last thing, Michael, is the power belt that Thor would wear that gives him his tremendous strength. And finally, Mjolnir.
Oh, very
Mjolnir.
good.
So in the original mythic saga, Loki is almost directly responsible for the creation of Mjolnir, his most
Benjamin,
hated
that's
foe.
all. That spins out a lot from just having a jape about cutting her hair.
It does, doesn't it?
It does quite a lot. Benjamin.
Yeah.
But this episode is full of twists and turns.
It is, Michael. It is.
And you've written here, Ben, Disney World. And what does that mean?
So, Michael, the big reveal is that the timekeepers are animatronics. The big reveal that shocked, I don't think, anybody at this point.
Not a single person was shocked.
Not since Wizard of Oz has anyone been fooled by these are the mysterious masters of this thing and you can't see them, only certain people can see them. Ever since the Wizard of Oz, nobody has believed a word of that particular story. And it's revealed by Sylvie, who in a fit of rage chucks her sword or one of the deletion staffs at them, cuts the head off, and it turns out to be a weird Disney animatronic.
It's just a Disney World, I get you now.
Yeah, it's just a Disney World, and you get me now. So, Michael, that leaves us with the classic Marvel Cinematic Universe television series question: was it Agatha all along?
Do you think it was Agatha?
No, it wasn't Agatha, Michael, and I thought it might be Renslayer, who seems a right old villain, Michael. But I don't think it is. I think poor old Renslayer is a bit of a pawn as well. So we'll have to wait till next episode to even get an inkling, Michael, as to what's happening there.
I suspect, Benjamin, it's a Loki.
I reckon it's a Loki as well, Michael. I reckon it's a big bad Loki, because if you remember in the second episode, we are told that there are more Loki variants than any other.
Yeah, because they're always up to nonsense.
Because they're all up to the shenanigans. They're the god of shenanigans, Michael. And it causes all kinds of ruptures in the timeline. And it's a big problem. It's a big problem.
Benjamin, that's if this whole timeline thing even turns out to be true. Remember, in episode 1, Ben, I said the only way that this could really fit in with the future of the universe is if it's fairly inconsequential. And one of the ways to make it fairly inconsequential is for it to turn out to be mostly fake.
Well, it seems we've certainly gotten the first breadcrumbs of that being the overall plotline, Michael, in that the big TVA power structure that we've come to understand is a lie from top to bottom.
Delicious and delightful.
The timekeepers have no power. They can't create anybody. They kidnap people and mind wipe them. So it does reek of a Loki variant pulling an awful lot of strings.
Including vampires, Ben.
Including vampires. Vampires are real. It's been confirmed. So we probably... I suppose they had to do that, Michael, for Marshala Ali to take on Blade in the future. Is Blade going to be a television series, Michael, or is it going to be a...
I think it's going to be a filmatic release.
Oh, very good. Filmatic release. I have to say, I'm enjoying the long-form Marvel stuff, though. I have to say.
Yeah, it's been quite good so far. Benjamin!
Yes.
Then... it's not Kang.
It's not... This is tricky, because
go on.
It could be a form of Kang.
Yeah, but Kang is as likely as Mephisto was in WandaVision. To have Kang show up in episode 6, and there's only 2 episodes left, remember, Ben?
Is it only 2?
I think it's a 6-episoder.
Oh.
To have Kang show up in episode 6 and say, "It was me, it was Kang," and everyone like, "What?
It was Kang all along."
Yeah, yeah, that would be dumb. That would be dumb.
That would be kind of dumb. I think this definitely is tied for the most fan speculation with WandaVision. Because every week there's a theory roundup. And I'm getting sick of it, Michael.
Getting sick of all the theories.
Some of them are real stretchy as well. Some of them are like, oh, it's Kang because we saw 31st century technology and Kang was born in the 31st century. It's like, it's a time travel agency. 31st century is a really throwaway term for any kind of...
isn't it?
Or isn't it? But I mean, it just gets a bit much at a certain point, doesn't it? Like, because we did our theory roundup. I did a little breakdown of the different theories that are running ahead, Michael, there. And everyone was saying, "Oh, Loki's being enchanted. Loki's being enchanted." Nobody was being enchanted, Michael. They just got hauled back into the TVA because they have a nexus power and they touch each other. Because you're not supposed to ride your cousin.
It's not his cousin, Ben. It's him.
Yeah, but if you're not supposed to ride your cousin, you're definitely not supposed to ride yourself.
Benjamin.
That's all I'm saying.
Benjamin.
Yeah.
If I met a sexy lady version of me, I'd definitely be interested.
If you met a male version of you, you'd definitely be interested. You fucking.
That's why there's no mirrors in the house. I've been seeing a lot of things online saying, like, only Loki could fall in love with the female version of himself. I'm like, nah, easy.
I think a lot of people could.
Michael J. Fox.
So, yeah. We found out that it's mostly fake. We get that strange moment where Mobius is deleted. He's pruned.
Oh, poor old Mobius.
Poor old Mobius is pruned. And it's so quick. It's so quick. And Mobius, which I didn't realise, Michael, quickly became one of my favourite characters. We very rarely get to see kind of righteous indignation in such a calm manner. Mobius is quietly very morally strong. And he's quite an enjoyable character from that point of view. It's either right or it's wrong. And he doesn't kick up a big hoofa. It's not like, oh my God, how can you do this? It's just like, this is wrong. This is weird. This isn't okay. Yeah. And he has that perfect answer. He gets a great ending line in episode. Now, he's obviously not gone. We'll get into that in a second.
Or isn't he?
But we get that great ending line. You know where I'd go? Where I was before the TVA took me away. And I was like, that's a great line. Look at him dig that knife into Renslayer. And it hurts her. It does. You can see it. It's like, oh, he got me.
He's going to be a professional jet skier. Benjamin.
Yeah.
Then we had the post-credits scene, which is definitely going to have to be repeated at the start of the next episode.
1000%, because it was such a giant, bloody revelation.
What the heck, Ben?
Yeah, the balls on this show, Michael. The chutzpah on this show. So what we see at the end is that deletion does not end in deletion. It ends in being put in a closet, Michael. I saw one.
Does it though?
That's
a fan theory, Ben.
Let's take a look at the evidence that we have. Loki has continued despite our Loki. I don't know what we'd call him. Let's call him Avengers Loki.
Variant Loki.
Variant Loki number 1. Our Loki, so to speak, wakes up in a bloody purgatory place, and we hear the unmistakable voice of one Richard E. Grant.
A very Richard-y voice.
A very Richard-y voice, some might say. Yeah. What we get then, Michael, is a little pull-out shot of 4 different Lokis.
Quattro Loki, Ben, as they would say in Italian.
Which is a delicious pizza that you should try and causes mischief in your tummy later on. So we get a pull-out of that, Michael. And what we see is 4 very distinct Lokis. The easiest one to explain is Alligator Loki. Alligator Loki is a weird throwback joke to the time that Thor was turned into a frog by Loki, and he went to an animal kingdom and helped the animals with Mjolnir, because Mjolnir shrank down so that Thor wouldn't be without power.
A lot of people are assuming that Alligator Loki is a Loki. He could just be a jokey. Like, the young boy Loki could have just taken another Loki helmet and put it on that alligator. I think that's hopefully the most likely scenario.
I don't care. It's still a throwaway joke to a weird comic book arc where Thor was a frog. Yes. So then we have, as you rightly pointed out, we have young Loki, Michael. We talked about him a little bit way back when we did the episode 1 breakdown. We have young Loki, who is part of the Young Avengers from 2015, I think. He's a more heroic character. He's a very cleaned up version of Loki. He's Loki without the corruption. He's also a depowered Loki. He doesn't have as much power as adult Loki does. Then we have a character who's been created expressly for the show, Michael, and I've had to research this to bloody death. And there's boastful Loki, and we see him holding a big golden hammer, Michael. And this would seem to be a Loki who's gained the power of a Thor, or become worthy of a Mjolnir of his own. Or
go on.
Beta Ray build himself, give himself a second hammer.
Or just from such a different timeline entirely that Thor is more Loki and Loki is more Thor.
Yeah, that makes sense. That also makes sense.
They could just be from branches much further out. They don't have to have started from the same position.
No, they don't. Because we found out today that even the existence of a variation. Sylvie gives a nice speech at the start of the episode where the universe wants to be free that it creates chaos to try and break the pattern. So Sylvie is a complete anomaly of a Loki, and that's why she doesn't like the name Loki, because she never really got a chance to be a Loki. Her mere existence is a crime.
Benjamin, there was a very little interesting Easter egg in that scene of Sylvie being young. Did you spot it?
No, I missed it, Michael.
She was recreating the fight from the end of Ragnarok.
Was she?
Yeah, if you remember, she has Fenris. She has a big wolf.
Okay.
On the bridge.
Yeah.
And then she has a ship, and she says, and Valkyrie flies in with the ship.
Yeah.
And jumps out. Benjamin.
Is she from the future?
Is she from the future, Ben? And Ragnarok is a cycle.
Is she Loki's daughter? Because then it's really weird.
Is she Loki's daughter? Then I'm glad he didn't kiss her.
Because you shouldn't shift your daughter.
No, that's bad.
That's
bad.
Not
like shifting yourself in a mirror.
No.
Once every now and then.
That's why there's no mirrors in Michael's house. But anyway, then we have the third Loki variant, Michael, who is none other than Richard E. Grant, and he's playing old Loki. Or King Loki, as he's commonly referred to in the comics. The Loki obsessed with being the king of Asgard.
Original Loki, Ben. He's the gross
Loki.
and horrible gross Loki that we talked about on episode a few weeks ago, where we looked at the cartoon and the comic book that first introduced Loki.
Yeah, and we have a very cheap costume and things like that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to learn more about those variants, go out and check out our episode on Thor Blood Brothers. On collecting issues. Go check that out. Because a lot of what we saw in today's episode, including Sif's hair being cut,
including that,
is referenced in that very comic. Go have a look at it. We might even link our own episode, Michael. We might even. It's like falling in love with ourselves. We're going to link our own episode below.
I hope we don't create a Nexus event. Benjamin, it even brings on stuff that you've waffled on about in the past.
I was right!
Is Loki destined to fail?
Yeah.
Is that the role of the Loki?
I was right. They have that whole debate. I think Mobius puts that to bed firmly by saying, look, you can be whatever you want, in case anybody told you different. I do think the one unearned beat in that entire episode is, how about trusting a friend? And Mobius just goes, oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, we're friends.
I was like, no. Loki has gone on the run with Sylvie. He spent a grand total of about 25 minutes in the presence of Owen Wilson. And then he's gutted when Owen Wilson is deleted. And I just sat there going, I don't know if that's anything I'm on board with. But look, it was overall a good episode. But Michael, my God, the ups and downs.
It's ups and downs, Ben. Non-stop.
Ups and downs. Oh, it's exhausting stuff.
It's Doctor Who, Ben.
It's Doctor Who.
It's very Doctor Who.
It's very Doctor Who.
It's one of the most Doctor Who things I've seen, Ben, including a lot of Doctor Who.
With Sylvie being the Doctor Who, not Loki.
Yes.
Sylvie is Doctor Who.
Yes.
And it's interesting, isn't it? It works.
I like it.
It works. Probably my favourite of the shows so far.
You say that every time, though.
No. No, because I didn't enjoy Winter Soldier. You were a big Winter Soldier fan. You thought it had more rewatchability. I think this is going to be the most enjoyable of the lot.
What's next, Ben?
By the end. More Lokis than you can shake a stick at, Michael. We're going to see President Loki. President Loki isn't our Loki. This is where we've been deceived. We thought, Michael, foolishly, like the foolish fools we are, we thought that anytime we saw Loki in that trailer, it was some version of the Loki that we know and love. Going about his business. But now, Michael, we've just been shown it could be any Loki.
Could be any Loki. There could be a whole gang of them. There could be infinite Lokis. They multiply every night until they fill the universe.
Yep. One of those weird Norse Eddas. But anyway, Michael. That's enough of Norse mythology, Michael. That's enough of bloody Scandinavia. Let's bloody move a little bit more to the east. There, Michael. I don't know if that's accurate. I'm terrible at geography.
Yes, it is.
I'm accurate?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
To the land of Estonia.
To the land of Estonia in the east. Michael, is it out this Wednesday? Is Black Widow out this Wednesday?
Yes.
Oh. We're not going to see it? We're not going to bother?
I probably will.
We're going to have to. We do a pop culture podcast.
Yeah, we do a pop culture podcast, Ben.
We can hardly take a pop of something we haven't seen.
Yeah, that would be ridiculous.
But Michael, this movie's been the longest...
Ben. Unless it's Tomorrow War.
In which case, fuck that. Fuck that film. But, Michael, we have been in a Cold War. We've been waiting for this film for what feels like forever.
Forever, Ben. We've had our finger on the nuclear button.
For the longest time.
For the longest time. I've got a cramp in my nuclear button finger.
I'm still not sure, Michael, this film's coming out on Wednesday.
No, it might not, Ben.
I think Kevin Feige would be like, nah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's a grand big twist. I have a feeling, Ben, that there's everything. Have you been watching YouTube, Ben? Have you been on the YouTube?
I have, yeah.
Every 10 minutes, Marvel posts another look at Marvel's Black Widow.
Just trying to drum up some kind of
Yeah,
interest.
and now here's a look at Marvel's Black Widow from the perspective of the second assistant Grip. And he's like, I don't know, I suppose I held this boom. But anyway, that was a bad joke. There's no room for bad jokes, Ben. We've got to talk about Black Widow. Benjamin,
Yeah.
it's constant. But I have a feeling, in the classic Marvel way, everything we've seen from the trailers and the clips and the behind the scenes and the character analysis and the what does Florence Pugh have to say, all of that I reckon is from the first 20 minutes, and I think there's going to be a big twist in the middle and it's going to turn into a totally different film.
I don't care. I don't care about this film, Michael. They've fucked it, and I've never seen them so spectacularly fuck a release. Also,
Well, Ben,
I
there
think-
was COVID.
I think, yeah, but even that doesn't merit the level of pushback for this film. Like,
Nah,
could you not have released it on Premier Access?
I don't know, Ben. It hasn't been a great success story so far doing that.
Premier Access has seen the lowest return on the last one as well. Cruella was the lowest earner, despite being a very good film, apparently.
Yeah, and having Hollywood darling Emma Stone or Watson in it.
Yeah, it's almost like, ripping people off against the agreed deal. It doesn't sit well with people. It's interesting how that works. I hope it continues to fail horribly, Michael, and they just give up. I don't think they will, though. They've got the money to back that kind of loss every time, I think. But anyway, we're getting into the wrong thing. Michael, it's coming out this Wednesday. There's probably going to be the Marvel twist. That's what I'm calling it now. The big mid-movie or mid-season shift in perspective.
Yeah.
And we're just going to have to wait for that to happen, Michael. We're going to have to wait for that to happen and see what comes of it. But Michael, it got us talking, and we had this ready to go months and months and months ago. We want to look at Cold War comics. Now, that's a slightly misleading title. What we're actually looking at is Russian characters in Western comics. Michael.
Do svidaniya, tovarish.
You've got a little bloody Red Guardian there.
Got a little bit of Red Guardian on my face.
You got a little Red Guardian. Red Guardian Leviosa.
Very good.
That's your joke, Michael. I just stole it.
That's why I thought it was good.
Yeah, that explains a lot. You've got a little Natasha Romanoff. Nice. So you've got a little Russian enclave there, Michael. Good for you. Good for you.
Like Kaliningrad.
Kaliningrad.
Yeah, it's the Russian enclave in Europe.
Oh, thanks for letting me know. That's
yeah, it's a port city near Poland.
It's actually quite helpful, Michael.
Yes, you're
Quite
very welcome.
helpful. So we got talking, Michael, and we said we'd have a look at this. So I've gone through and I've picked out some of the most egregious examples of Russian characters in Marvel Comics history.
Da!
Lots of dying. And I've taken a look at the trope and where a lot of that comes from and why it might be the case. So the first thing we're going to look at today, Michael, is it's not located entirely to comics at all.
No.
Russians have been the go-to villain for American media and well, not entirely Western media, but definitely for American media for the longest time, Michael.
There was a whole Cold War, Benjamin.
Yeah.
In which Americans and Russians were enemies.
Yes. And the Americans turned wholesale to the propaganda machine and went for that. And the Russians did that too against Americans, Michael. There's a big difference in how they went about it, though. So when Russians did it, what they did was, of course, they put out their movies where Americans were the villains and it was very on the nose and stuff like that. But then they would put out those wonderful posters that we've all come to love from World War II and post-World War II, and they're, the kind of Russian aesthetic that we've all come to expect from propaganda posters. Americans did something slightly different. It was a far more subtle kind of, how would we put this? Tainting of the waters, Michael.
Oh, very good.
And what we saw was the slow creep of Russians as criminals, Russians as hard men and cold women, and what we saw in cultural narratives, movies, comic books, novels, whatever you like, was the development of a Russian trope.
Yes.
Okay, that Russian trope in informal circles is commonly referred to as Mother Russia, because in those early days, all a Russian character ever did, Michael, was do anything for the motherland. That was their purpose in life, for glorious motherland. And they would
we must break him.
Exactly, and
Break the Amerikansky.
And there's some perfect examples of that in early James Bond films. Red Grant is a prime example of he's kind of the assassin who is unstoppable, unyielding, cold as ice. And he's a great
willing
kind
to
of
sacrifice.
example of that. Willing to sacrifice his love for Mother Russia. And a lot of that came about. And a lot of those strange tropes came with it, Michael. There's vodka. There's just mountains of men. There's unemotional brutes. There's unspeakable cruelty. You know, the capacity for that. And what that is, Michael, is a very, very quiet damning of Russian people as almost another species of human being. So far from what American values would hold up as, you know, the kind, nurturing mother and the strong, you know, guiding hand of a father and, you know, the good son and stuff like that. And it completely changed the human value of Russian perception. And it's fascinating, Michael.
Fascinating.
Fascinating. Yeah.
My favourite character that you've just described
Go on.
is a character, his real name is Sukhov, Ben.
Okay.
Of course. And he's from the video game Freedom Force.
Okay.
Benjamin, I'm always talking about the old video game Freedom Force. Freedom Force is from the 90s, I think, or perhaps the early 2000s. But it was an American comic book video game.
Yeah.
Back from when comic book video games were not very good, but Freedom Force was excellent. And we've talked about it before, Ben. It was all done in the style of Jack Kirby.
It was.
And despite being from the late 90s or early 2000s, it's very 60s in its presentation.
It is.
And Ben, Sukhov is the character Nuclear Winter.
Yeah.
And Benjamin, he was a nuclear scientist who gets ice powers. So he's a Russian nuclear scientist. And he wears a big long fur coat. He's got a Russian fur hat with a communist badge on the front. Benjamin, he's got a whole gang of Russian tough guys. He's got an emotionless, sexy lady Russian sidekick.
That's about right.
He's got the best name and character power combination in comic book history.
Go on.
Nuclear Winter. Brilliant. Everything you could possibly want about Russia summarized in one character. Benjamin, he's got his long fur coat. It's open and he's bare-chested.
Of course.
Oh, best character ever created.
So
he is everything we're going to talk about on this episode summarized in one character.
It's brilliant. He's a perfect beginner character for that. Well played.
Thank you, Benjamin. But Benjamin, the only thing that's disappointing about him is he's a knowing parody of that time. So, you know, he's not from the period that the other characters we're going to talk about. Like, he was created post-Cold War.
Yeah, so he's intentionally stacked up to be
exactly
this. So
everything,
as opposed to being the recipe, he's the product.
He's the end result of everything stacked up together. In the same way that the lead character from that game, Minuteman, is every American trope you could possibly imagine stacked into one.
You know, he's Mel Gibson in The Patriot.
He's Mel Gibson in The Patriot. He's Captain America. He's Superman. He's all of them combined.
Yeah, that was a great little game. I remember I had it on disc here as well on the PC.
Yeah, it was very good.
It's a great little game. I must get that again, Michael, and have a little play of it.
Benjamin, it doesn't play well with Windows 10, unfortunately.
Oh, that's disappointing news, isn't it?
It is very disappointing.
We could have done a Let's Play.
Yeah, for any listeners who are thinking, let's go back and play Freedom Force, it doesn't play well with Windows 10.
Boo.
Yeah. Anyway.
Boo.
Russia.
Anyway, Michael, that gets us to the long history of Russian characters in Marvel Comics. And the reason that we've chosen Marvel Comics is, first of all, because Black Widow's coming out, and second of all, it's because, actually, among many of the comic book companies, nobody leaned more heavily into Russian villains than bloody Marvel. They just loved doing it. So the first kind of major Marvel Russian villain to come onto the scene was in Iron Man in 1963, and the Crimson Dynamo made his appearance.
Oh.
And the Crimson Dynamo is Venkov. Hang on, let me make sure I have that right. So there's been one of the interesting things about most of the Russian characters in Marvel is that they change bearer of the title. So you get lots of different heroes, and we're going to talk about a lot of them here. But one of the key things that separates them from American superheroes is that when one of the heroes dies, they're replaced by the state. And their moniker is handed on to the next viable candidate, which is a weird choice, but it's an interesting one, and it fits in with that Western perception of communism and sharing the title, and does anything belong to it? What are you pointing at?
Who's behind you?
Who's behind me?
There's something moving behind you.
Oh, that's not good. What the fuck's moving behind me?
Someone's behind you. Who's behind you?
There's no one behind me.
There is. There was someone moving something at the end of the bed.
Well, that's after scaring the shit out of me. What?
Like an orange thing. There was an orange thing going backwards and forwards.
Is this a weird joke? Because now I'm really freaked
No,
out.
I'm deadly serious.
Okay, hang on. This is weird podcasting. What the fuck? Okay, hang on. I'm going to check my room now because I'm that nervous.
Okay.
Is this a bit?
No.
Are you doing a bit?
It looked like a ruler or something, like an orange.
What?
Was it Bowie's tail? Is Bowie
Bowie's
there?
not there. Bowie? If she has, she's been exceptionally quiet.
That's weird.
If you see it again, let me know.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to get my room bloody saged. Those fucking evil spirits. Scared the shit out of me, Michael.
That's weird. There's nothing there. I'm gonna have to cut this out. Anyway, Russians. Get back on track, Ben. Russians.
So anyway, yeah. One of the interesting things is those monikers get handed on, and it's kind of a weird play on the communist ideal. Do you know what I mean? That everything belongs to everybody. And so handing on that moniker when one of them dies is a common thing. But the original Crimson Dynamo, Michael, is like a Russian Iron Man.
He's just a Russian Iron Man.
He's just a Russian Iron Man. And the original bearer of the title was Anton Vanko. And that's,
that name rings a bell.
Yeah, it does. Because they created a kind of an amalgam character for Iron Man 2 in Mickey Rourke. He was Crimson Dynamo and Whiplash.
And a bit of Titanium Man.
And a bit of Titanium Man, Michael. So a little bit of everything there in that character. But the Crimson Dynamo is exactly what I've just said on the tin, Michael. He's a bloody Russian Iron Man.
That's it. He's just a Russian Iron Man.
He's a Russian Iron Man. Now, he didn't originally appear... sorry, I got that wrong. He didn't originally appear in Iron Man. He appeared in Tales of Suspense as a general villain. However, he then became a key Iron Man villain in 1969. And this starts a tradition, Michael, of Russian spies going up against Tony Stark. And
Ben, I did a bit of research on this,
Go on.
and certainly, although, you know, every genre ever created from the 60s to the 90s has Russian villains, there is no one who has as many Russian villains as Iron Man.
And it's really interesting, Michael, and it got me thinking, is that a capitalist versus communist commentary from Marvel Comics? Because Tony Stark is the ultimate American dream. Like, he's
the ultimate American capitalist pig dog.
Yeah, and he's got all the monies, and he's good at what he does, and it's American exceptionalism embodied in a big tin suit. And so it's interesting that he runs into these things kind of all the time. And then obviously the biggest Russian character, though you'd be forgiven for thinking that, in Scarlett Johansson's portrayal, is the Black Widow. The Black Widow has been a Russian character since 1964, Michael, and she also appeared in Iron Man for the first time. Now, a far cry from the Black Widow we've come to know and tolerate.
Love. She certainly wasn't. She wasn't doing a flip and shooting people with widow stings, and she was just a kind of sexy lady. And they were like, Tony Stark's vulnerable to a sexy lady. Send a sexy lady and have her go and muck up his machinery. And that's what she did.
Yeah, and that's what she is. She's a honey trap in her original appearance, and she actually goes in with Crimson Dynamo. It's not. Oh, maybe it's not Crimson Dynamo.
Maybe it's Titanium Man. Maybe it doesn't matter.
But anyway, she would soon become. Oh no, sorry, I'm completely wrong. I'm correcting myself on this podcast, Michael. Crimson Dynamo did indeed make his first appearance against Iron Man, but it wasn't in an Iron Man title. Sorry, it wasn't in an Iron Man title. It was in Tales of Suspense, Michael. And the Black Widow then was his kind of honey trap, his distraction for Tony Stark. So Tony Stark would be off his game. And then would later do fine with. And yeah, so that's how that works. And he's kind of just a Russian Iron Man, and he gets the title handed off again and again and again. Most importantly, Michael, and most interestingly, is he's not as smart as Tony Stark. A lot of the Crimson Dynamo suit is stolen from Tony Stark's technology.
Classic.
Because they couldn't be as smart as Tony Stark, because they're not capitalists. So it doesn't work that way. So anyway, we got the Black Widow, Michael. The Black Widow has gone through so many iterations now, Michael, that it's really, really interesting. So what we have in the Black Widow is the slow transformation from honey trap, unwilling evil sidekick, to Russian double agent, to super spy extraordinaire, to Daredevil's love interest, to
Avenger.
Now, Avenger actually comes from the Mark Millar Ultimates reboot, because she kind of popped up in the Avengers roster over time, but she wasn't ever really a central character to the Avengers. As far as I know, you'd know better than I do. Gold.
Was she not on the... Was she not... Who was on the relaunched Avengers, Ben? After the original Avengers broke up and Captain America relaunched the Avengers, who was it? It was Captain America, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Hawkeye,
Goliath.
Black Widow wasn't in that team? I don't remember.
Don't think so.
I'm actually confused now, Ben. You've confused me
I don't
entirely.
think so. Excellent. That's my goal in every podcast, Michael. And I've done it again.
Very good.
So, Michael.
Yes.
Michael. That brings us on to Black Widow, who is now, I guess, at the forefront of... Well, was at the forefront of the Marvel Universe, and now has a very poorly timed movie coming out
Benjamin,
before Phase 4. Yeah.
There is one reason, and one reason alone, that Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow is my favourite depiction of Black Widow.
Okay.
And it's that of all the Black Widow depictions ever, especially in either animated or live action, she is the only one who's a competent spy.
She is. She's quite good at what she does.
She's a very good spy. I mean, when she's introduced as Natasha Romanoff in Iron Man 2, obviously all the comic book fans and anyone who's seen the trailers are going, "There's a bloody Black Widow over there."
Oh, look at that there, Black Widow.
We're onto that. But it's the first time, and it seems now almost like a no-brainer of a decision, but that was the first time that Black Widow was portrayed in any media without a Russian accent.
Yes.
So imagine if they just cast Natasha Romanoff as Tony's assistant, and poor Scarlett Johansson was going, "Yes, Mr. Stark, I will bring you the documents." And everyone going, "Oh no.
Oh boy.
I wish they hadn't gone with that."
Oh boy.
But then, Ben, they've taken a step back and they've done that for all of the other Russian characters in the Black Widow movie.
Yeah, they've all got it.
They've all got it.
I mean,
now,
you can argue.
It makes sense, Ben. It makes sense for Red Guardian.
Yeah.
Because he's not a spy.
He's not.
English is going to be his obvious second language. But all of the Black Widows should surely speak English without a comedy Russian accent.
They should.
They don't, though.
They don't, though. And that's weird. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty good segue into Red Guardian there, Michael. That he's been played by multiple characters. Or multiple men. One is Alexei Lebedev. The other is Alexei Shostakov. And the current guy, there's so many. And he's kind of interesting. He's Russia's attempt at a Captain America, but he doesn't have superpowers.
He hasn't got any superpowers.
In the comic books, no. I don't think that's true in the movie.
In the movie, he appears to have superpowers.
I think he probably has superpowers, but in the comics, he's just at peak human condition. He's like Captain America.
Oh, well, that makes sense then.
He's like an Olympic level Russian athlete, and he's been chosen for the role. And he's supposed to be a hero. And they've had some interesting stories with him where he's very conflicted because he's like, I want to uphold Mother Russia, but doesn't seem like the right thing to do. It seems like everybody's starving under communism.
Yeah, I want to uphold Mother Russia, but doesn't seem like right thing to do in this American written comic book.
Yeah, and so a lot of this has kind of come on. Now, obviously, these characters, Michael, in their initial iterations were just great punching bags for Marvel characters to kind of showcase American ideals. And you'd have speeches like, you'll never win, Red Guardian, because you don't have the American spirit. And we got crap like that all the time during that time. And you constantly see capitalist triumph over communism. But Red Guardian is kind of interesting because he gets interesting changes as we go on, and it brings us on to one of the more interesting tropes of Russian characters in comics, and that's experimentation. There is a version of Red Guardian who was horrifically experimented on.
Yes.
And breaks loose. Captain America has to deal with him in one of his many, many story arcs, Michael. And he's a very tortured creature. He's just had an awful time. And that leads us to inhuman experimentation as a trope for Russian characters. So we've seen it step by step, and one of the great myths of Russia is that the government has these inhumane training programs, experimentation programs. They will do anything to get the edge over America.
The Amerikanskis. Benjamin,
Yeah.
what you're doing now is describing the film Rocky 4.
Yes, with an old Ivan Drago.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's exactly, again, a perfect common parallel to look at that trope in action. You have Ivan Drago, who's a beast. He's not human in the kind of mythos of that story. He's a monster. He is something that can't be grappled with by an ordinary American man.
An ordinary American working class schlub.
Benjamin. Yeah.
The real isn't Russia bad characteristics of Ivan Drago come out in the famous training montage.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because when you're seeing Ivan Drago's training montage, you're seeing that he has teams of scientists monitoring his heart rate, and he's on treadmills and he's on futuristic machines, and they're analyzing every piece of data and making him the best he ever possibly could be. All things, Ben, which American athletics now pride themselves on. Which is funny because in that it was sponsored by the state, sponsored by Russia. In American now it's sponsored by corporations. So you might get Nike to spend millions of dollars putting electrodes on you so you can go 10% faster. But in Rocky in the 80s, getting assistance from scientific methods was considered cheating.
Yeah.
Now, Ben, they do also inject things in him, and that is cheating.
That is pure cheating.
Pure cheating. But the Americans would never do that. They have special ways of not getting caught.
Unless you're in a Marvel contract. But anyway, Michael. But anyway, you taught me that, Michael. I didn't know any of that.
They're all on roids, Ben.
They're all on roids. In a rare moment where all these kind of characters would come together over the years, Michael. Oh, sorry. Onto experimentation. That's no different in the comics, Michael. Winter Soldier is a perfect example. He is a fusion of experimentation and training. He's brainwashed to death. And he's the ultimate kind of communist victory because he was an all-American soldier. Bucky Barnes gets turned into the kind of mythic figure, unless you watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney Plus, where everybody and their mums knows about the Winter Soldier all of a sudden.
Or not. Sometimes. It's very confusing.
Depending on what we need the story to do. So in that particular case, we got to see that fusion. That narrative has creeped into Natasha Romanoff's character with the Red Room. And she's gone through some horrible things to become the world's greatest spy. That too. The Red Guardian is experimented on. We have other examples like Emil Blonsky, who becomes the Abomination, the original Abomination. People often forget that he worked for the KGB.
He was one of the first Russian baddies. We have Benjamin, something that you and I would both love to forget, the 2017 film Guardians.
Oh yeah, and there's actually a character that follows that particularly, Michael. There's a character in Marvel Comics that turns into a bear. He's called Ursa Major. He's a mutant, and he's part of the Winter Guard. And the Winter Guard was introduced in 1998 in Iron Man comics, naturally.
Only 1988.
1998, isn't that mad?
Get out of here. The Winter Guard are from 1998, post-Cold War.
The Winter Guard are from 1998, post-Cold War.
Benjamin, I'm going to need you to get up out of here. That's mental.
That's mental.
That is
and I double-checked.
Surprising.
Because I read that and went, no.
Okay, I'm going to triple-check.
You triple-check, because I'm often wrong. But
you spin your wheels.
I don't think I am in this case. So the Winter Guard is kind of a grouping of all these different characters, Michael. they're a bunch of Russian superheroes put together in their own kind of Avengers style.
First appearance, Iron Man number 9, October 1998.
Yep.
Get all the way out of here.
Crazy is that?
That's funny, Ben. I clearly read those comics in the 90s and thought this is something from the 70s.
Yep.
And it never dawned on me that it was new then.
Nope, brand new. So
that's very interesting.
The Winter Guard, Michael, consists of Crimson Dynamo, Red Guardian, Ursa Major a lot of the time, and I'm going to get this wrong.
Darkstar.
And they're kind of the Russian Avengers. But they're very different to the American Avengers because they don't like outsiders. So they're kind of a weird...
Ben, I found out why.
Oh, why?
Because all the characters existed and they did team up quite often, but they were called the Soviet Super Soldiers.
And that got changed, obviously, for obvious reasons.
That's hilarious.
Oh, that's gas. Okay, so that's where the gap in my knowledge comes with the Soviet super soldiers. Oh, that's so interesting, isn't it? Comics are weird.
That is very interesting.
Comics are weird. But yeah, and then Michael, I didn't want to end on a bunch of negative Nellies and weird Russian villains. So one of the probably more positive representations, bizarrely, of Russians is Colossus. Who was introduced in 1975 in Uncanny X-Men #1. And that's Pyotr Rasputin, or Peter Rasputin.
Rasputin, Russia's greatest metal man.
Yeah, so that was him. And of course, he's everybody's kind of favorite Russian character in the Marvel Universe. Tavayich comes out of his mouth every second sentence. Or Tavarish, I can never pronounce it correctly.
Das Vidanya. And he grew up on a Russian commune. He represents the side of Russians that America saw as favorable.
Yeah, the hard-working, salt-of-the-earth Ruskies.
Big, muscular farm boy. He might be Russian, but if he were born in Kansas, he could have been any other American.
What I found out is really interesting, Michael, something to really drive that home, is, this is just a theory on it, but what I was reading was, he matches Soviet propaganda posters for that time. He looks like the standard Russian male that Russia themselves would put out. And it's an interesting theory to think that perhaps this was an attempt to not make people scared of Russians. Because they would have seen these big Russian men and gone, my God, look at these titanous men. How can we possibly stand in the face of them? And then we have a big friendly metal giant in the form of Peter Rasputin. He's such an interesting character. And he, throughout the course of his early career especially, is often found to find America a strange place.
Yes, but so are any foreign characters when Stan Lee's writing them.
Yeah, that's true.
This America is strange place with your frozen cream.
What is this iced cream? You know,
what is it, Tovarish?
In Siberia there is iced cream too, but we don't like. We put in fire to heat.
Yes, in Siberia, famous treat is melted cream.
Melted cream, not frozen creams. Okay, that's the end of this podcast. That was incredibly racist. What the fuck was that from the pair of us?
We were doing a parody, Ben. We were doing a parody of American thinking about Russians in the 60s.
That was bad.
That's not how Benjamin, that's not how any real Russians speak.
No, it isn't. We know real Russians.
Yeah, that's not how they speak.
That's not how they speak. We're very sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Jesus.
We're sorry, but the American comic from the 60s should be more sorry.
Should be.
Benjamin, the thing about Colossus, though, was Colossus... This is a question. I'm asking you this, not telling you this.
Okay.
Did Colossus think the Russian government were a grand bunch of lads, or was he against them?
Well, you see, that's where it gets interesting, isn't it? So initially, no. No. There are several moments of plot armor where Colossus would solve the problem in 2 minutes, but he's had to go back to Russia to sort something out on the farm. Because, you know, he's had to go back for the motherland to help the commune or to help the people. So that was a thing that used to pop up. Now, again, It's interesting. The Marvel's Ultimate Universe, which was a giant kind of sideline comic that kind of rebooted the universe and gave it a new shiny polish. Colossus is the victim of Russian gangsters. And he's kind of been sold into the Russian mafia lifestyle and doesn't have a lot of choice. It's interesting because it's not the first instance where Mark Millar has decided to make a very racist representation of different nationalities. He does it with Black Widow as well. Black Widow ultimately turns out in the Ultimate Universe, and spoilers for a comic that came out nearly 20 years ago. Black Widow turns out to be a baddie. She's a Russian spy.
Well, she's a Russian spy, Ben.
I know, but she really is a Russian spy.
But Benjamin, yeah, of course she is. She's a Russian spy. But I think the key to that is take away the word Russian. That's irrelevant. She's a spy. All the spies are baddies.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, why did they think she wasn't going to turn on them? Her job description says, like, spy on it.
Yeah.
If my CV said spy, I would be very surprised if people hired me. Because, bit of a history of being a bit dodgy.
Yeah, spies aren't great.
Benjamin, we haven't even touched on Yelena Belova.
No, we haven't had a chance, Michael, and we're out of time because we've gone way over our limit, Michael. This podcast has gone from a 50-minute romp to a 1 hour and 10-minute a week gig. And it's not bad.
It doesn't
thing,
help,
Michael.
Ben, that there was a ghost behind you.
What was with the orange ghost? Not a fan.
Oh, brilliant. Now I have to leave some of that in
Yeah,
for the
you gotta
listeners
leave
to
the
understand
madness
what was
in
happening.
so they understand. Otherwise, it seems like a mental breakdown. Ladies and gentlemen, will you be watching bloody Scarlett Johansson Russia it up with a bunch of non-Russian Russians? There's not a single Russian actor.
It's a shame there's no Russian actors, isn't it?
There's
Such
no
a
Russian
shame.
actors used in the Black Widow film set in Russia. Interesting how nobody's screaming cultural appropriation over that one. But anyway.
That is interesting, isn't it?
It really is interesting, Michael.
That
it
is
really
interesting.
Is. Because Russia's a culture. That's a weird thing to do.
Just get David Harbour in.
Get David Harbour to ham it up. He was great in Hellboy.
He was actually.
He was the best thing about Hellboy. Because the rest of it could go in a dumpster. But anyway, Michael. The listeners.
Wrap it up.
What did you think of all this? What did you think? Huh? What did you think of all these Russian superheroes?
Was there a ghost?
What was it? Did you read the Soviet Super Soldiers when you were younger? Were you as shocked by the Winter Guard being introduced in 1998 as we were? Is Colossus your favorite X-Man? Probably not.
Why wasn't he in the cartoon? I know he was in an episode or two, but I always felt he got hard done by there.
He should have been. He was one of the original Uncanny X-Men, Michael.
Exactly.
You could have had a shiny metal effect all the time. It would have been great. They used to have great shiny metal effects in that cartoon. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, are you going to watch the film? Tell you what, watch it. Give us your review. You can do it in a bunch of different places. If you're on the old YouTube there, give us a comment down below. If you want to find us on the interwebs, we're there at www.seomrabeag.com, seomrabeag.com.
It means a tiny room in Irish.
It does. You can also find us on Instagram at Sure Look, Sure Listen podcast.
Yeah,
I changed it.
It means Sure Look, Sure Listen.
It means Sure Look, Sure Listen in English. You can find us on Twitter at Listen Sure. But ladies and gentlemen, all of that pales in comparison to that Discord, baby.
Hop up on it.
There'll be a link down in the description. Click the link.
Hop up on that Discord, baby.
Yeah, and let us know. Join us in a week's time, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to have to ask Mick if he's ready to do this. We'll either have, Michael, the Eisenhorn pitch, please.
Right.
Or we can do Unstoppable Force meets Immovable Object, the powerhouses of pop culture.
I don't know. Let's figure that out off air, Ben. Let's
surprise the listeners. So it's one of those two topics. Join us in a week's time.
Very good.
But a mystery topic.
Ooh, very
Talk
exciting.
to you later, ladies and gentlemen.
Das Vidania! Ah, good.